This kid ran a genius hustle. So at this one school, if your phone ended up in the lost and found, it stayed there until the parents of that student picked it up. That was the rule. If they took your phone, you were not getting it back. Then this kid named Marcus starts a business. $10 and I'll get your phones back before 6th period. Bro, what? They're in the front office. Yeah, well, Marcus had an older cousin that worked in the front office. And every day during lunch, Marcus would go to the office to say hi to his cousin. And when he did that, his cousin would quietly hand him a phone wrapped in a napkin. Hey, what's up, cousin? Oh, hey, Marcus, hope you're having a good lunch. Here is your snack I brought you. Good man. And nobody noticed. He had a group chat, phone retrieval services. You would DM him what class you lost your phone in and what your phone case looked like. He even had tiers. $10 for standard pickups during lunch, $15 if you had to go to the office during class, it's a bit more risky, and $20 if you get caught again the next day. It became this underground thing. But here's the twist. Eventually the principal finds out about this. He made a deal. I won't punish you, but for this next week, every single time someone messages you to do this, give me their name. Fine. He became a frickin' informant, and for that next week, he busted a lot of kids. Eventually, they found out that he had flipped and his business was completely washed. But still, I guess you gotta respect the hustle. This substitute was doing a terrible job. Class, please listen up. Kids are talking over him, they're throwing stuff around. Settle down, everybody, please. But it's useless. One kid in the back row shouts, "Bro, you suck at this. I could teach better than you." The sub glares him down and then says, "Okay then, do it." The kid shrugs, walks up to the board. Okay, alright guys, well let's just start with the next section. Page 72 I think in the book. It's actually 73, Carlos. My bad, 73. Thanks for checking me on that, Steven. Somehow everybody's listening and paying attention. This kid's cracking jokes, calling on students, he's explaining these lessons, and for the first time all day the room is silent. By the end of class, the sub is just sitting there with his arms crossed. Oh, alright, that's the bell, guys. Thanks. Have a good rest of your day. This is unbelievable. I told you suck. Peace out, teach. That's insane. It was a normal day in class. This little kid raises his hand holding a Rice Krispie treat. Miss, do you want this? I don't really want this. Oh, no thank you, I'm not very hungry, but thank you so much for thinking of me, that's so kind of you. The kid nods politely. No problem. My mom always says it's nice to give the food you don't want to the poor, so. What? Kid then got up, walked that Rice Krispie treat to her desk, and set it down anyway. Here, just take it for later. You might not have any money for dinner. Thank you, I guess. No, that's actually kind of hilarious. Genius. So this kid had leftover candy from Halloween. Suckers, sweets, stuff like that. And at first he brought a little bag to school to share with his friends. But then other kids started asking, "Yo, let me get a little taste. Do you have that ding dong?" More and more kids started asking him for his candy or his treats. So he flips a switch and turned it into a business. He calls it the 25-cent store. Every item's a quarter. Well, he makes about $50 in a week. So he reinvests this money. He goes to the dollar store. He buys bags and bags of candy and brings it back to school. He raises prices and he keeps selling. Alright, brand new inventory, but this time it's 75 cents each. But it's worth it, I promise. And still, he sells out. From that batch, he ends up making $144. And he's not done, he still has more product. And he plans to invest this money. But then a teacher comes up to him. "Excuse me, why are kids handing you quarters?" Hi. That's what I thought. That teacher shut him down. It was over. The thing is, it was a harmless business, and people actually liked this service. Teachers just don't like kids to succeed these days, huh? So this kid had the biggest yard in the entire neighborhood. It's the yard that people always ended up hanging out at. But one summer, he had a bigger idea. He thought about those giant music festivals and how much money they make, and he thought, why not try to have one in my backyard? So first he held auditions. Bands, comics, magicians, whatever. Bring your instruments, bring your tricks, just show me what you got. And the best acts got a spot on the lineup. He built a stage out of stacked wood pallets and plywood. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. A friend brought an amp, some dude brought a microphone, it was all coming together. At the front gate of his yard, he had two friends working security. $10 a ticket. And inside, hot dogs and soda for $2 each, and his dad manned the grill. That night, the whole frickin' neighborhood showed up. Parents, kids, even people he didn't know. And the band was crushing it. Folding chairs around the bonfire, people dancing to the music, it was a beautiful sight. By the end of the night, they had made a really good amount of money. And he thought to himself, I'm gonna put this money towards doing it again next year. And that's exactly what he did. The next year, it happened again. bigger and better. And he kept doing it. It wasn't just a big party. It became a tradition for the entire neighborhood, and they loved it. You gotta respect the hustle. Genius level 1000. So this kid gets a job at the local movie theater. 2 tickets to the Helpful Cow, please. All right, enjoy the show. Well, day 3, he learns a pretty cool thing. All right, staff, a reminder, you all get free popcorn. Isn't that awesome? Best job ever. So every shift, right before close, he fills a bag with free popcorn. He ties it up and he stuffs it in his backpack. Popcorn into backpack. He goes home, goes into his bedroom, and he puts that popcorn into an even bigger bag of popcorn. It's a massive trash bag he keeps in his closet. He does this for days. His closet turns into a popcorn storage unit, and he's trying to keep the popcorn as fresh as possible. Then what he does is he takes his popcorn to school and he sells it. Like, for example, one night during a basketball game, the school is selling tiny popcorn bags for $4 each. He comes in, $2, fresh movie theater quality popcorn, $2. He goes behind the bleachers and a line forms. People are ditching the real concession stand to buy popcorn off of him. He upgrades his business too. Employees get 50% off of all candy. So one day he buys a bunch, tosses it in his backpack, and sells it at school for full price. I hear you have candy. Yep, Twix, Reese's, Butterfinger, what do you want? He's basically running concessions every day at school. And by the end of the year, he made more money selling popcorn and candy than the theater paid him to work there. And that is genius. You gotta respect the hustle. One day, this kid bought a bunch of clear iPhone cases for cheap. And he had this friend who was good with graphic design. So what he would do is he would have his friend make this cool design of whatever he wanted. His friend would then print it and cut it down so it would fit perfectly inside this phone case. And it looked awesome. Clear phone case, this graphic design insert, it was legit. Custom fit, looked expensive. He did it to his phone case first. It was an anime design and it looked awesome. People saw this and they were immediately intrigued. Well, interest grew. And soon, he was taking orders for people. NBA, anime, SpongeBob, Shrek. He was making these custom phone cases and selling them. Then he starts bundling them together. 3 phone cases for $10, 6 for $15, and business was absolutely booming. He kept buying these clear phone cases. His friend kept designing these designs and custom cutting them to fit the cases, and people were buying them. They were all over the school. The thing was, his friend that was designing these and printing them was using the school's printers. The IT guy realized how much printing had been done and he told the principal. And this whole thing had to be shut down. But by then, he had made $530. And those phone cases became collectibles. Some students even reselling them for 3 times the price they bought them for. Honestly, you gotta respect the hustle. Steven wasn't a bad kid. He just couldn't sit still, he talked too much, and he was the class clown. The kind of kid teachers called a distraction. So, Steven ended up in detention a lot. The teacher who ran it, Mr. Barlow, I'm Mr. Barlow. He was one of those quiet, by-the-book teachers. Button-down shirt, coffee mug that said discipline equals freedom. Well, Steven noticed that in detention, Mr. Barlow didn't really do much. He just said, no talking. And he would just yell at people who did. Mr. Barlow, you know that doesn't really work, right? You think you can run detention better than me? Yeah, I do. First 2 weeks go by, and Steven starts running detention. He was even in there when he didn't have a detention himself. He began playing calming music, he had snacks, and he told the people, help yourself to some food, listen to some tunes, and just do your work, guys. Talk amongst yourselves, but don't get too crazy. And immediately, the students that would have detention respected it. It worked very well. Huh. So do you plan on running detention for me? I mean, I already do. Okay, fine. You're my assistant then. And this just took off. Steven began organizing seats, having people check in, cracking jokes to keep it light. He would even play movies in the background while students worked. And it actually stopped feeling like a punishment and more like a structure. Even the principal notices. Mr. Barlow, you're doing amazing with detention. These students are behaving so well these days. Actually, you can thank Steven for that. Steven eventually graduated from high school, but he became a teacher and came back to that school to teach his own class. That's amazing.